Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is Monday, August 3rd, 2026, and you're listening to episode 237 of Midnight Film Society. I'm your host, Damian Sherman. Joining me today, as always, is
Derek McDuff.
On today's show, Spider-Man does whatever Spider can. Tom Holland trades in the swords and sandals for web shooters and quips. This week, Derick and I will untangle the web of this newest entry in the MCU. But before that, we'll go over some movie and TV news, discuss more about what we're watching, and finish up with our Letterboxd assignments. Right to the show, midnightfilmsociety@gmail.com, Midnight Film Pod on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. Subscribe on Pocket Cast, YouTube Podcast, and Spotify. Rate and review it on Apple Podcasts. Tell a friend, if a member or stranger. What's up, dude? How we doing?
Not too bad. After a long, adventurous weekend last week, I am recovering from Comic-Con and doing good.
Nice, very cool, yeah. We both had a bunch of traveling things going on, movie watching. Did you get to see, I know when we went last time when I was out there, we went to see Deadpool and Wolverine. Did you check out any movies while you were out there?
I caught the beginning of Moana before I came back, but
Nice.
Because there was AMC right by the train station, so I killed some time in there for a second. But no, did not really have time to watch any movies. Was pretty busy doing all the con stuff.
Nice. Well, why don't we jump ahead in the dock here, and you tell me, since we're already talking about it. Comic-Con 2026. You had a panel there. You shook some hands, kissed some babies. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had a panel for Underrated this year, as I've had for a few years in the past. This one was about how movie theaters are changing, and movie watching is changing. So it's called Evolution of Movie Theaters, and so that was a lot of fun. Got to do that, and then the next day I also got to guest on a panel. So I was on part of a panel about it was like a bracket style March Madness style, called the best pop culture vacation destination. So I got to argue, what was the better vacation destination, Wakanda or Themyscira. So it was a lot of fun. Got to do both those panels Saturday, Sunday, and then got to go to a lot of panels. Got to see some cool stuff. I covered a panel, the Brad Bird one for Temple of Geek, wrote about that one, and then got to see a bunch of cool stuff. There was the Collider doing one. They always do their directors on directing, and saw that one. And they also did one called Showrunners on Showrunning. So I got to see your Damon Lindelof, Greg Daniels, and the showrunner of Widow's Bay discuss just kind of the TV landscape, how it's different than it was, streaming, binging, all that stuff. So it was a really good time. There's some really cool activations. There's always a lot of fun stuff to do, free swag to get, a lot of cool things to see. And it is just so huge. It's at the convention center. It's 2 hotels next door. It's the library where I had my panel. So it is just expansive, and just the floor is insane. But then, you're going to I don't spend too much time there. I'm going to all these panels. So that's mostly what I do. So I was there all 5 days. I had a blast.
Nice. That sounds amazing. Really happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you get some nice contact with some other creators like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, there was a couple people, that there's, always a few people that I run into, like people like Brandon Davis and stuff like that, just that I'm getting to know a little bit, so, and then of course, people that were on my panel, like my friend Law, who, he works with AMC. It was cool to have him on, and as well as Becky Diana. She is an exec at Sony. She was on my panel as well. So out there, there's some pretty cool people that you get it when you get to do this stuff, that you get a chance to know. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, it's awesome. Really happy for you there, doing your thing.
Thank you. Yeah, out there, making it work.
Making it work. Yeah. One con at a time, as they say.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sure. I've heard that expression before.
All right. From con news, this is some sad news. Glenn Hansard, Irish musician, passed away this week at the age of 56. He passed away in a motorcycle crash in the outskirts of Dublin. If anybody's been a fan of the movie Once from 2007, won an Oscar for Best Original Song that year. And yeah, just been a really amazing musician his entire life. So yeah, really, really sad loss this week.
Yeah, it's really a bummer. We were talking about the director of Once is I'm spacing on his name, but his more recent film with Paul Rudd. So Once is a great movie. He's really great in it. So it's definitely a loss.
Yeah, there was facts about him coming out, and I guess the director, yeah, like I'm also blanking on his name, but the director he gave him the script and said, "Do you know anybody that would play the female? Do you know anybody that
Mhm.
who do you think would be a good, lead for this?" And he wanted Glenn Hansard was going to write the songs and somebody else was going to sing them, and that person was going to be Cillian Murphy because he was still early on in his
Mm.
career, also a fellow Irish actor. And I forget how exactly it went or what kind of conversation they had, but eventually came around to Glenn playing the lead role there, which I unfortunately have not actually seen yet. So I'll be checking that
Oh
out
wow,
this week
yeah,
in
it's a
honor of
good one.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
one. And then John Carney, by the way, is
John
the name of the
Carney.
director.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So rest in peace, Glenn Hansard.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So how do you want to do this? Because I got like a billion things, a million
Yeah,
billion,
I was looking at this and you just like were like, I'm gonna watch every movie. And I was
every
like,
single
I'm at
movie
Comic-Con. I'm not
in
watching any
existence,
movies. So I
everything in
have
existence.
yeah, I have our review of the week and then my girlfriend turned on a movie right before we recorded. So I put that on here too.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
however you want to do it, man. You can just rip them all off or I don't know, whatever works for you.
Yeah, I got them kind of bunched together. Like, for example, I have two. So I'm going, like I said last time, doing the Cannes Film Festival, the winners of that. So I have two here I'll
Mhm.
start off with. First one being Dancer in the Dark. This is a 2000 psychological tragedy musical, written and directed by Lars von Trier, stars Bjork, also stars David Morse and Peter Stormare and some other very good character actors. I don't know about this. This is one of those that in the early 2000s, you know how Michael Mann and a bunch of other like journeyman directors were experimenting with digital photography.
Mhm.
Lars was as well apparently, and he shot a lot of this in mini DV. For those kiddies out there, mini DV was a tape. It's a very small tape you could put into a tape recorder, and you get like I don't know, an hour and a half of like probably HD footage
Mhm.
or whatever. So
Yeah.
Mr. Von Trier used that technique in here, and some other mixing it up with other cameras and other filming, other film types. But yeah,
Mhm.
that style didn't really work for me. It's very handheld, very in your face, very, whatever that style is called. It didn't quite work for me. It's also,
Cinema
half
Verite, I don't know.
cinema verite. Yeah, something like that. And so yeah, it's very, and Bjork Bjork is, love a lot of her music. She was pretty
Mhm.
good in this, but not spectacular. You have to you're with her the entire run of the movie, which is only, an hour 40.
Mhm.
So it's quite
Mhm.
long. So yeah, it didn't fortunately didn't quite work for me as a film. Um, but yeah,
Okay.
next one up, I have paired that with Taste of Cherry, which is a 1997 Iranian minimalist drama film written and directed and edited by Abbas Kiarostami. Kiarostami is one of those heavy hitters of the international cinema, Iranian cinema of of like the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And this is one of his most well known of his films. And yeah, it's just a movie about a man from Tehran, who is looking for somebody to bury him. Essentially, he's pretty suicidal. As he's going around telling everybody, "Hey, I have a job for you, and I'll pay you to do this," and everyone is like, "Oh, I'm a laborer. Is it labor intensive?" He's like, "Yeah, just come with me, and I'll tell you about it. We get in the car, and we'll chat about it, and we'll talk about it." So yeah, it's very minimalistic. The camera shoots from very far away at many times, and just leaves you looking at this really beautiful Iranian landscape. So, yeah, it's pretty dreary as the as the premise goes, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's I was looking over, and this is when I talked. So this is something I wanted to talk with you about. It's just all these are so dreary, dude. I just looked at the descriptors of a lot of these. 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days is about a woman trying to obtain an abortion in tyrannical Romania. Just so many of those. It's just like bleak upon bleak upon bleak. There's more is a very
Misery
famous
porn.
misery porn. Exactly, you got it. So yeah, it's I'll keep pushing on, but it's gonna be a rough one. Lot rougher, I think, in some ways, a lot rougher than the Best Picture winners, which were middling at best.
Yeah, I always think of that 30 Rock bit where Tracy Jordan is in that movie like about his life, and it's called Hard to Watch. And it's just like he gets all the accolades and starts winning all the awards because it's just this, one of those type of movies just like,
Yeah.
about his childhood and how difficult and awful it was.
Yep, indeed. Let's see. I have tasted cheer again here twice for accidentally. Let me move on to. Well, actually, let me reverse. Go to Tokyo Sonata. Well, there's not too much to say about this one. It's a very good Kiyoshi Kurosawa movie. It reminded me a lot of a movie that came out earlier this year, I believe. The No Other Choice. Forgot
Hmm.
the director's name that did that one, but yeah, this is very
Is
similar to
that Park
that.
Chan-wook?
Park Chan Wook, thank you. Yeah, exactly. So very similar to that. It's about a man who loses his job and is still trying to put on airs, trying very much is trying to, like literally is going to work, pretending to go to work, and comes home wearing a suit and pretends to be working all day when he's actually looking
Hmm.
for a job. So very similar to
Hmm.
No Other Choice in that respect. So yeah, if you like No Other Choice, I would definitely give this a watch. Next
Okay.
up, I have Friends of Eddie Coyle. This is a movie that I fall back on a lot. I talked about last time movies that I fall back on when I'm not sure what to watch, and this is kind of
Hmm.
up that alley of a grimy '70s gangster noir picture. So
Hmm.
really really cool. One of those with Robert Mitchum playing an aging gangster in the similar way that James Caan played one in Thief. So if you liked
Hmm.
Thief, I would definitely recommend
Yeah.
checking out Friends of Eddie Coyle. I believe this is streaming right now. Or no, sorry, this one's rentable, so you can only rent that one. Yeah, really good,
Okay. All right.
really good.
All
Yeah,
right. All right.
Taste of Cherry was on HBO Max. Dancing in the Dark is on Mubi. Next up, we have 48 Hours. First time watching
This
this
is
one
one I've
for
been
me.
meaning to watch for quite some time. I hear a lot of really good things about this movie.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, classic 80s. Probably set up a lot of the tropes we would find in a buddy cop movie. This one obviously is
Mm.
directed by Walter Hill, stars Nick Nolte, Eddie Murphy, and a very young Annette O'Toole. So yeah, it's a very funny buddy comedy. It's one of those that's like I think it has those edges that haven't been sand off in the most recent years, where you would see this if this was on
Mm.
Netflix, it'd be much funnier. It would have much less grit to it, much less racial undertones, which is this movie has a lot of. And yeah, it's one of those movies. I think people say doesn't get made anymore, but just I think what they mean is made in a certain way. It has those
Yeah.
rough edges and those undertones that I was talking about. So yeah, really really amazing film from Walter Hill.
I am a big fan of, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and The Sting. So I always want to see this. I know that this is a kind of cornerstone in the buddy cop genre, especially, the buddy cop where it's like there's, people of two different racial backgrounds, and and it would inform movies like Rush Hour and Lethal Weapon and stuff like that. So definitely need to check this movie out because it seems like maybe like not no disrespect to those movies, but like kind of maybe a step above those, and like everybody else was kind of like on its coat heels.
Yeah, absolutely. One weird one I checked out this week. It's from 2007. It is a massive anthology film. I'm not sure what it was for. Let's see. So it was from 2007, French comedy anthology film. Oh, it's commissioned for the 60th anniversary of the Cannes Film Festival. Speaking of Cannes, it's a collection of 34 shorts, each in 3 minutes in length, by 36 acclaimed directors. So I have on my Letterboxd, I posted the my favorites of this one. This is actually famously very, very, very hard to find. I think DVDs go for on eBay upwards of $100 to $150 because it is
Oh
that
wow.
rare. Yeah, very, very rare thing to find. So, very tough job tracking it down, but I did manage to do that. Yeah, some of my favorite ones and my favorite directors. One from Alexander Inarritu called Anna, about a blind woman who is profoundly moved listening to her boyfriend interpret the end of Contempt. So they're in the theater and he's just telling her what's going on. It's very, very moving little short there. Let's see, there's one called The Cinema Around the Corner. It was a memoir about how the movie Top Hat impacted the director's family throughout the years. Let me see. Walter Sales had a very good one called 5,000 Miles from Cannes. It's all like honors the history of cinema. So this one's very much about 400 Below is another one that's takes place as factory workers are watching Lumiere, a silent film of workers on a lunch break. So it's all very very meta, and it's very much about the power of cinema. So yeah, if it's a thing you enjoy, you want to check it out. Like I said, very, very hard to find. So if you can
Yeah.
find it, keep hold of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I'm doing my whole series about movies right now that are hard to find over on underrated, called Unreleased. So this one sounds like it would fit right in because, yeah, unfortunately, even though we're in an age where everything should be so easily and readily available, so much stuff is not. And I love anthologies, so would love to check this one out.
Yeah, really, really good. Next up, I have one from Alexander Payne. In addition to the Cannes Film Festival marathon I'm doing, also trying to check out films from filmmakers that I haven't seen yet. So I'm filling out their filmography. I've seen most of Mr. Payne's work. Only one I haven't seen, one of the ones I haven't seen of his is Down City from 2017. This is written by him, directed by him, obviously, starring Matt Damon, Christoph Waltz, and Hong Chow. This was not, I wouldn't say it was panned, but it was kind of fell, speaking of radars, went under the
Yeah,
radar.
people were kind of like, What's this thing?" Like it was like met with kind of like a, Why did we do this?"
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe you can tell me, what is the phrase when they say like it's a high concept film? Does that mean like the premise is simple or it means the premise is very complicated?
I would say it's a not simple or complicated necessarily, but it's like the premise is the movie, right? Like it's like
Yeah.
there's a big idea here. Like what if the amount of time you had left to live was on your arm?
Hmm.
Whoa, go with that. Let's make a movie with Justin Timberlake in it, you know?
Yeah. Gotcha. So yeah, so I guess this is high concept, and this like the premise is people are being shrunken down, so they use way less resources, and I think it's trying to make these kind of profound statements of like people that you know I that aren't working or work less or immigrants, and because he's in a bar at one point and the guy overhears him that he's doing the procedure and he's like, you people shouldn't have the right to vote because you're really tiny and you should pay way less or you should pay more taxes or something. I don't remember what stupid argument it was, but it's one of those of like, you people are different, you
Right.
people are not contributing to the overall economy, so you should have less rights than everyone else. So there are little things sprinkled throughout this film like that. But ultimately, I think it was just a film about helping. I think the second half of the movie is very much about Matt Damon and Hong Chau's relationship. Hong Chau plays a woman who she was protesting something, and they violently and against her will shrunk her down. So
Mm.
that's how they get to meet. And she has a leg injury, so he's trying to fix that. Matt Damon's character is a rehabilitational physician, so he was helping her
Mm.
with her leg, and so it's really about just doing as much as you can, one on one, person to person, community to community, and so very much a lot of the film is him bringing food to people and telling people what's going on in the world. So it's a really really nice movie with heart on its sleeve and very weird concept to start with. I would say.
Yeah, strange. I remember it being. It's like one of those movies. Yeah, like you said, high concept, just interesting concept for a movie. That I feel like clips of this movie. These kind of movies always do like numbers on reels. It's just like Matt Damon is small, and Bryce Dallas or no, Kristen Wiig was gonna shrink, but she didn't. She divorced him instead. Here's a weird clip from this movie.
Yeah. Have you seen the clip? I think the one that always makes the rounds is Hong Chau telling him, "What kind of fuck did you give me? Did you give me hate fuck, love fuck, buddy fuck, pity fuck?" Have you seen that clip or no?
I did not see that one. No.
So
That one missed my FYP.
yeah, spoiler because they have sex, and so they have this like kind of work relationship, but then they get closer as they
Mhm.
start traveling more together, and they have sex, and then a couple of days later, she's like, "What kind of fuck did you give me? Give me hate fuck, pity fuck, love fuck, friend fuck?" It's like,
Yeah,
oh, hold
it's
on.
one of those movies where like it's got Matt Damon in it. It's written directed by Alexander Payne. You know, it can't be that bad, but also it doesn't look very good. Is the vibe you get.
Yes, yes, indeed. So a
Yeah.
couple more here, coming to the
Well, I
end.
think
Yeah, go
that
ahead.
that can transition nicely to the movie that I just watched, which is
Oh, okay.
also about
Oh, little people.
a
Yes,
small person in a society of large people.
yes.
And I just rewatched for the first time probably since right when it came out, and I watched
Hmm.
it on DVD. My parents rented Stuart Little, which is an insane fever dream of a movie. For people who aren't aware, it's about Gina Davis and Hugh Laurie, and they have a kid, and they're like the kid wants a little brother, so they adopt a mouse. The mouse is just at the adoption agency, and just mouse antics ensue. It's a movie that's like 85 minutes, and it's just gotta like hit all of the beats. It's like they have a cat, and he's voiced by Nathan Lane, but then the cat doesn't like having a mouse owner, so he complains to the mouse mafia or the cat mafia. And then Jennifer Tilly shows up as his fake mom. It's like, and there's a boat race where like, oh no, his the boat controls got destroyed in this remote control boat race, but Stuart can drive it because he's a mouse, and it's just like, and it's just one of those like very like schmaltzy like family movies. Like the kid doesn't like having a mouse brother, but then they learn to bond, and it's just very 90s family bullshit movie. And it's like with like a lot of how that a lot of stuff was in that time, like a very stacked cast, very stacked production team. It's like Alan Silvestri does the music, John Dykstra, who was the original guy who like worked at ILM for the first Star Wars movie, does is in charge of the special effects. So it's just, which I guess at the time would have looked cool, but like are pretty rough now, especially when like they have like the real cats talking and they CG their mouths to be like, "Wow, Stuart, we're gonna get you," like stuff like that. It is absolutely insane to watch that movie in 2026. That you just realize that this is a movie that just existed and it was very popular and we all liked it, and then immediately forgot about it. It got a sequel where he rode a little skateboard. Apparently, I never saw the sequel, nor will I likely ever. But yeah, it was just insane to be going back because I was like, I vaguely remember this. I was like, the cat is Nathan Lane. All right, I remember that much. And like, oh yeah, okay, so like, oh, the other cat is Steve Zahn. Michael J. Fox is the mouse, and it is just a bizarre movie.
Yeah, it's in the pantheon of like weird '90s movies about small people, like The Indian in the Cupboard. The
Yes.
what was the one? The not the it was like the it had a the in the title, so that helps.
Oh yeah, that narrows it down.
Not the Getaways. The it was like The Borrowers. The
Oh, The
Borrowers.
Borrowers. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, the '90s was
Yeah.
full of that stuff, like Ricky Tikki Tacky. I remember that from
Hmm.
school. So yeah, the '90s was accosted full of small people doing things. Um,
Yes.
the
The
you
Mouse
forgot
and the Motorcycle was one
the
of my
mouse and the
favorites.
motorcycle. Yes, I remember that one too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was so
Uh,
good. I love that so much. I used to get the VHS from the library like every week.
Stuart Little, I forgot to mention, who wrote it, M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah. M. Night
Yeah.
Shyamalan. Like we're watching the credits roll, and my girlfriend goes, "M. Night Shyamalan."
The '90s was a wild time. Would love to go
It
back
really
someday.
was.
Let's see. So yes, a couple more for me. I finally watched the last Guillermo del Toro movie. Gilmore. There we go. Oh, I thought I had it. I had it, then I lost it. Guillermo del Toro. The last movie I had to see of his, which was a Mimic,
Mm.
from 1997. Stars Mira Sorvino, Jeremy Northam, and a very young Josh Brolin in this, which was fun to see. We also have Charles S. Dutton, which is always a nice thundering force on set there. So yeah, it is. famously a Miramax movie, famously a Weinstein movie, and it really does feel you can feel the studio interference
Mm.
in this because, as the title says to you, whatever the alien is, it is a mimic. But you know what it never does, Derek? Mimics. It gets to a point where you just like, oh my god, it's developing the face of a human, and then it never does anything with it. It doesn't actually become a person. You might think, oh, it's gonna take the form of the other people, and we're gonna have like a thing sort of movie
Yeah,
here.
that's
But it
what I
never,
was giving you the vibes of describing. It was like, oh, so it's like the thing.
yeah, but it never becomes the thing. Imagine the thing, but it never does
Okay,
anything. It never does anything.
interesting take.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro, famous for his practical effects. I don't have the practical effects person on set or in front of me, but it's gross stuff. It's gooey. People are putting their hands in the mimic itself and pulling out these gooey stuff. So it's him as you definitely know, you can tell even back then. Oh, he's going to be one of those guys that's going to do it as much as humanly possible. Going to do it right there. So yeah, really really good one of those.
All
It is
right, all right.
only rentable. That is
His
a
first English language movie.
first English language movie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a pattern I see in my in my movie watching today. Is a lot of only rentables ones. A lot of very hard to find movies, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Next up, like I said, I finished up Mr. Del Toro's filmography, watching the Mimic first, and I finished up with Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. I saw the first Hellboy when it came out, just never made time for the second one. This is screenplay by Del Toro, directed by him, story by him. Mr. Stars, of course, Mr. Ron Perlman as the titular Hellboy. Selma Blair is back as the Flame Woman. Liz Sherman, the Pyrotechnic woman in there. We have Doug Jones, obviously, as Abe Sapien. Luke Goss plays the bad guy. Luke Goss, Derek, if you've seen Blade 2, he was the bad guy in that as well.
He was. Oh, okay. All right. Interesting.
He was
Did
the like
not.
the
Oh,
hybrid.
Blade 2. Okay. Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
hybrid vampire who was his mouth would
Yeah. Yeah.
open like sideways. Yeah,
Yeah,
that one
okay.
scared the shit out of me when I first saw it. Actually, like his face just opens up like a maw, like a freaking like
Mm.
a praying mantis or whatever. Yeah, this is amazing as well. I forgot about how we used to make movies in this country, even in the heady days of 2008. First year of Mr. Obama's presidency and all of that.
Mm.
So yeah, it's one of those. If you like the first one, if you like Pacific Rim, if you like yeah, really, it's well shot too. It's again, speaking of people like Del Toro, his what the mark of a great filmmaker is you can shoot an action scene and actually see what's going on. You shoot it, you light it, you choreograph it, so you actually have an idea where people are. Imagine that. Imagine shooting with color and brightness, and you don't hide all your mistakes in darkness. So, yeah, really, really, really good follow up to this one.
Yeah, I love this movie. It's a too much. I think it's in some ways it's in the same vein as the first one, which I absolutely love. It's the movie that got me into Del Toro as 14-year-old or whatever, and I love the follow up. This one's a lot more like fairy tale. Like the first one is like more like kind of you know like grim, like ooh, the Nazis are doing all this Eldritch horror stuff, and this one's very like grim fairy tale. Like it's like, oh, there's this like troll market. There's all this weird stuff going on. I think it's a blast. There's some really fun stuff in this. There's some teases for a Hellboy 3, which would unfortunately never happen, which is a bummer because I would have loved to see Del Toro and Ron Perlman, who is just incredible as Hellboy. Just that I would have loved to have them finish their trilogy together. But this is such a fun movie. It's such a unique, interesting take on the superhero genre. And this comes out right when that is starting to pick up. Obviously, this comes out right before The Dark Knight and Iron Man. Same year as Iron Man, a year before The Dark Knight, I want to say. So like this is, it really kind of predates that big superhero boom. And it kind of got slept on a little bit. It wasn't like a failure or anything, but like it didn't really do the numbers that it hoped. And so I do love this movie, though. It's been a minute since I watched it, but it just feels like some of the coolest world building you'll ever see in a movie.
Yes, absolutely, wholeheartedly agree with all of that. I got one more here before. Actually, yeah, I got one more, but then I'll talk about my trippity trip. We have
Mm.
Affliction from Mr. Paul Schrader. Again, another guy I've really loved a lot of his work. You know, I obviously wrote Taxi Driver. Yeah, he wrote
Taxi
Bring Out
driver, I barely know her.
Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Last Temptation of Christ, and Bringing Out the Dead. Directing credits include. Let me scroll down here. Oh, this is film credits. Let me see. Let me pull it up here. Sorry about that. Mr. Paul Schrader. How many Mr. Schrader films have you seen? I know we talked about obviously the card counter, right? That was a really
Yeah,
dark and twisted one. So
yeah.
yeah, he's writer on.
Because I've seen him. I've seen a lot of this. I've seen that one. I've seen a lot of the stuff he's written for Scorsese, like all the stuff you mentioned, Raging Bull, Bringing Out the Dead, which I covered over on Underrated. So I haven't. I'm not as familiar with his stuff as a director. He is a little bit nihilistic for my taste, I think. Typically.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Yep. He wrote Hardcore, which is one of the most cynical movies you can ever watch. It's like a more cynical
Okay.
Chinatown, if you can believe that. But yeah,
Oh
so
wow. Okay.
yes, so yeah, I've seen First Reformed, Card Counter, Hardcore, Master Gardener, which is like his trilogy of Card Counter, Master Gardener, and First Reformed was his like trilogy of sad men in rooms writing.
Okay.
So yes, I checked out Affliction this week. Now why is it not on here? There it is. Nick Nolte, kind of doing Nick Nolte assaults here, or watching a bunch of his movies. Yeah,
Mhm.
very very dark, very very dingy, very. It's picture Fargo, but made by Paul Schrader. Imagine that. It takes
Okay.
place in a
Okay.
very dark, cold. I think I want to say Vermont or New Hampshire town, and full of corruption. And it doesn't go the way a lot of these go, where the corruption is rooted out, people are arrested, or anything like that. It just ends in a very Paul Schrader way. And I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, if you want to check this
Mhm.
out, it's streaming right now on Amazon Prime.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, probably not gonna watch it. If I'm being
Yeah,
completely honest, there's
pretty
there's
dark.
other Paul Schraders I would probably watch first, like First Reformed and stuff. And
Yeah.
like I said, yeah, he's not always my cup of tea.
No, that's fine. That's fine. All right, let's get to my trippity trip. Went to New York City yesterday.
The Big Apple.
The big old apple, and man, are my arms tired.
You didn't
Yeah.
fly there. That doesn't even make sense.
Boy, my feet tired. Literally. Yeah, I just walked a fuck ton. I'm not the best shape these days, so walking is not my strongest suit. So I'm very tired. Yeah, dude, New York City, huge mecca. I went to see Museum of Modern Art. $30 to get in there. So yeah, I just walked around there for about an hour and a half. Had some really amazing street food. I saw the Naked Cowboy. Are you familiar with the Naked Cowboy, Derek?
No. What is the
He's
Naked
a
Cowboy?
guy in underwear that plays the guitar.
Oh, yeah, that guy. I
That
already
guy,
see him.
yeah.
It's always like Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve, and here's the Naked Cowboy. All
Yes,
right.
yes, indeed. So I saw that guy. Trying to think else what I did. Yeah, just had some classic New York food. A Italian sausage with everything on it. Got a Shake Shack because I don't have any of those around here. So yeah, food wise, city wise, adventure wise, experience wise, really good. Went to AMC, Lincoln Square, the Mecca.
Mm.
That is the film goers where everybody wants to go if you're a film fan, is to check out a movie on film on 70 millimeter IMAX. I saw The Odyssey again for the third time,
Oh, wow.
and it was absolutely everything I could hope for and more. It was just the biggest screen I've ever seen. Obviously, the biggest. It's one of the biggest screens. It is the biggest screen in North America. It's 100,
Mm.
105 feet wide. Uh, yeah, 108 feet tall and 70 feet wide, something like that. I think it is
Mhm.
actually wider than it is tall. But yeah, the sound was incredible, dude. They showed first 3 minutes of Dune Part 3
Mhm.
in front of this.
Okay.
because obviously Denis Villeneuve and Mr. Nolan are good buddies. So, and they also one of the two guys working in IMAX the most these days. So, showed
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit of that. Showed a little bit of that in front of the movie, and that prepared me for what I was to see because the first 3 minutes of Dune, Dune Part One and Two, are giant movies with giant scope and scale, and this thing was I was shaking, like it hit me in the chest,
Mm.
all of the sounds. And then leading so that led into the Odyssey again. Obviously I saw it twice already, and it blew me away even more so seeing it on a screen that huge. So I was sitting in row F. It was about 6 rows back, and
Mm.
it was about as close as you want to be. I'll put it that way. I think if you
Mhm.
get any closer, it would start doing that distortion thing that people always post about, where people have
Yeah.
giant jaws and whatever. But I think I got as close as I could without that happening. Really good seats.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was enthralled. I don't know what to say. I was enthralled the entire time. You could see the film in good ways and bad. Film is film, so there were some hairs on the screen at some points, but it is one of those things that we talk about a lot, where the human touch is fallible, and to have it showing on screen on film, somebody made this with all its defects. So yeah, just seeing this in the biggest screen possible, the biggest screen in North America, it was a joy, and very lucky to do it.
Yeah, very cool. I'm excited. I'm going to be doing the same thing for my birthday later this week in LA at
Nice.
Universal, seeing it at the one of the other biggest screens on the
Yeah,
opposite side of the country
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah. Let me
another
know how.
IMAX 70 millimeter. So very excited to see it in that format as well.
Let me know how it goes. Yeah, I didn't have too much neck
Mm.
pain, but I did have that thing where it
Yeah,
filled my entire vision. So at certain points, I'm
yeah.
moving my head, I'm looking back and forth, I'm looking at everything. So yeah, yeah, very
I am a
fun.
little bit further back. I'm
Oh
not in the
yeah,
sixth row.
no,
Thankfully, yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so I think that does everything except for the big release of the week. Okay, Spider-Man: Brand New Day, directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. This is his first outing. Of these stars, Mr. Tom Holland, Zendaya, Sadie Sink as a mysterious character that nobody knew who she
Who
was
could she
playing.
be?
Who could she
Who could she
be?
be?
Derek, how have you found so far the Holland Spider-Man films, and how is this one for you?
I quite enjoyed that first trilogy of Spider-Man films, the home trilogy, that directed all three directed by John Watts. Obviously, this one is a new trilogy, new director, somebody who is his first Spider-Man movie, but his third outing in the MCU. He also directed Shang-Chi and Wonder Man, the Disney Plus show. So interesting to see what he would do and what they would do following up, No Way Home, which I thought was incredible. Crossing over all three Spider-Man and gross ending
Oh, you could hear that?
with yes, of course you can hear that. You just burped directly into the microphone.
I have it on mute. Okay, this thing is totally fucked up. Sorry, we had massive tech issues beforehand, and I had a mute button on my thing, which apparently is not working today. So that's great. Sorry about that.
You're good anyway. So he, so this one, following out like Peter, trying to navigate years later after everyone has forgotten his existence essentially, and this movie does some really cool stuff, with him and MJ and Ned not remembering him kind of like, you know, having made that choice not to reach back out to her. And they start to reconnect a little bit. Circumstances throw them, and per circumstances, I mean Sadie Sink, throw them back together into the same vicinity. There's also a lot, like, this is a movie that feels like it takes advantage of being set in the MCU. It's like, hey, I'm just gonna like ask Yelena, like the new Black Widow, some questions. What's going on with her? Hulk is here. BFS with the Punisher. The Sadie Sink character is obviously someone going to be important in the MCU coming up. So it feels like it takes full advantage of being set. It feels very much like a comic crossover that you would get, where like, yeah, the Hulk is here for a little bit. Like, so I thought that was cool. I think the things that it really did well were all the interpersonal stuff between particularly Peter and MJ, which I can't get too much into until we go into spoilers. Um, but overall, I don't know that it worked. I didn't hate it, but it was probably my least favorite of these Spider-Man movies. It was probably my least favorite since The Amazing Spider-Man, I would say. movies, Amazing Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah, there was some high highs in it, but overall, it did not really work for me. I felt like I was like somebody who's, I felt like the people who criticize Marvel watching this movie of just kind of like I'm like really feeling all the things that they complain about, just the pacing and nothing really mattering and just some of the dynamics didn't really work for me. Sadie Sink's character didn't work for me at all, to be honest. I felt like this movie didn't really know what tone it was going for, and just I feel like it lagged a lot the last like maybe 40 minutes or so. I felt like there was something I wanted to see resolved, and I won't say what yet because we're on spoilers, but that was really just kind of like left by the wayside so that you could do all the fighty punch stuff and you could resolve stuff with other characters. So a little bit of a disappointment for me, honestly.
Wow, that's a shame. Yeah, I really liked it. Again, like I always do with a lot of these movies, I'll listen to endless podcasts and endless debate and endless, social media stuff about this. So yeah, I definitely, you're not alone. I've seen so many like, back and forth and like hedging bets and just saying like, oh yeah, I liked some of this, didn't like the other things. Yeah, it's been very, not critically divisive, but like, yeah, I guess I would say critically divisive, but I mean, not just critics. I mean, everybody, critics and normies and everybody in between. What was I going to say about that? Oh, but it's not hurting the box office because this thing is
No,
slated to
no,
make
no.
950 million. I don't know how much exactly, but that is a stupid amount. That is a stupid amount of
Yes.
money to make in one weekend. So yeah, I really like this. I think. Let me. So I have a
Fair,
bunch of
fair.
yeah, I have a bunch of notes. Maybe we'll go through them and I'll be able to pin down how I actually feel by the end. Yeah, I really liked just the overall choreography. I have in the notes the specific jumping scenes of somebody jumping through bodies. I thought was really really cool. Just in terms of having extras, people out there coordinating with them and saying, okay, you flail, then you flail, then you flail. That whole like
Mm,
jumping thing was very cool to me. I think we saw it in things like Fallen, which I talked about a couple months ago, and I don't think you've seen that one, but it had Denzel Washington and John Goodman. They were tracking down a demon who was possessing bodies over and over again. So it was
okay.
very much like that, and so yeah, I very much enjoyed that. I think that the dialogue between Tom and Zendaya, obviously they're married, so that's going to be right there naturally. But I thought what Tom Holland talked about in this movie when it was coming out was saying, "Hey, I just came off of Odyssey, and I went to the team and I said we need to punch this up. We need to do a better job with the script." And I think if I had a bet, I think a lot of it went into the dialogues. I think this movie has some of the best dialogue, some of the best writing, and just some of the best. I will talk about it later, but talking about agency and talking about, hey, you did this thing, you wiped my memory, and you chose to hide it from me. Not just hide it from me, but you came back into our lives and pretended not to know us, and that's really fucked up. So I think there's a really good script here. I think it's a really tight script, and as far as the interpersonal dynamics to go. Would you agree with that?
To a certain degree, I can't say more without
Yeah,
spoilers, so I don't know if
yeah,
you want
yeah.
to go into spoilers, but
We can hold off for a little bit.
okay.
Yeah, I forgot about the chemistry between Ned, Tom, and Zendaya. This movie is 5 years after the last one, so forgetting
Oh
about all
yeah, wow.
that. Yeah, so it's like putting on a nice jacket again. You forget how it feels to see these folks
Mm.
together again. Yeah, just a lot of heartfelt moments between everyone. Um, let's see. So yeah, you're talking about what's her name, Black Widow, and the scene with her was
Mhm.
very very funny. Um, then was it after that when he comes back, or no? He has like some weird emo scene akin to Spider-Man 3, and he wakes up and he doesn't know where he is, and he has to get back into his
Yes.
apartment, and he goes into the laundry room and just grabs the first piece of clothing that he sees, and he's on the elevator, and this woman next to him is like, "Is that my shirt?" And he's like, "No," and he just walks out. It's clearly her shirt, and
And he's got juicy on his ass.
juicy on his ass. That's so funny. And then yeah, I guess we go to a little bit of spoilers because they get back together as a team, kind of. Peter. has a moment with MJ and saying, yeah, I wiped your guys' memory of me, and yes, I came back to the apartment. This movie, starts with him going to her apartment, they're having a party, and he's just talking to them like he doesn't know them. And so their discussion later on, when she does read the letter that's been, part of, it was part of the end of the last one, and so he was writing this note basically to tell her, we were together, we meant a lot to each other, and I had to do some mind wipey stuff because the world was ending. Sorry about that. And so she's like, that was a really nice back and forth and saying how, okay, but you came to us, you came back, like I said, you came back to our lives, and that's really fucked up. And I think this is a really great moment between the two of them. And then they go back into their apartment, and Spider-Man meets Ned as they meet as Spider-Man, and Ned is talking about, where do you pee? Like, what do you do? What are your web shooters made of? And they have this dynamic that's just, as you do with really good friends, where you might not even remember each other, but you've been apart for years, and your dynamic just restarts automatically. So I thought that was a really good, depiction of that stuff.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think all that stuff was so good. That's the when the movie was really humming for me. I mean, we talked about this when we talked about Supergirl and how there wasn't really those, slow down, quiet scenes. And those were the best scenes in the movie where he is talking to MJ, he is talking to Ned, and they're like clearly have this bond, even though they don't remember each other anymore. That scene where she's like, I don't love you. I don't remember who you are. Unfortunately, she has her boyfriend, and he still loves her. And there's that fake out scene where it seems like she's, remembers him, but obviously she's being mind controlled by, I guess we'll say here now, full spoilers, who this is, even though the internet figured it out. But Jean Grey is mind controlling her. And I thought that was all great. And then for a movie that's 2.5 hours that is doing so much amazing stuff with their relationship, it never goes anywhere or gets resolved at all. The biggest resolution that happens is that Peter and Ned do a handshake. What? And then the movie, and I'm just like, you got to give me like the movie puts that on the back burner to focus on all of the drama going on with Jean Grey, which is not bad stuff. It's fine, you know. She's wants to get Mr. Milchek from Severance because like clearly this guy's evil. He's got the fucking evil ninjas from Daredevil working for him. What are you doing? Like the Punisher has literally fought those guys before. The Punisher's your best friend. It's it just focuses on it focuses on the wrong stuff. In my opinion, not that it shouldn't do that, but it seems to forget what was really what kicking the movie into gear and was really making it work because the Jean Grey stuff is it's like I don't have any emotional connection to this person. Like I'm glad she's been through a lot clearly, but also she's doing some very bad things. I think the movie like kind of like does that thing where it's like actually she was good. It's Jean Grey. You know the name Jean Grey, so you know it's the good guy, and lets her off pretty easy for like doing some really fucked up stuff and probably killing some people when she's like freezing time and that thing where she like low key like question mark sexually assaults Peter. Like I don't know, like it was like by mind controlling Zendaya, it's like I don't know. I have mixed feelings on the movie.
Yeah, yeah, the Jean Grey thing of it. Yeah, it's interesting because she literally kills a person. Like she pushes them into traffic. Like that's a dead person. That person
Yeah.
passed away. Um,
Mhm.
and so yeah, it's one of those things. They were talking about this in the Midnight Boys, where it's like, oh, our Jean Grey. It's the Jean Grey we all know. It's like no. It's not, and they were. I'll just fold this into the larger discussion of her and what they were talking about with the power set, which I get is always like who cares issue, but they're like, oh, she's so weak. She's like she in the comics, she's this omega level mutant, and they nerfed her. It's like no, you're not nerfing anybody. You're not presenting a fake version of a well-known character. You're presenting your audience with this character that we're starting
Mhm.
fresh with, and we're starting fresh with them, and we have to show what she's actually like as extraordinarily traumatized person. And it's sort of
Mhm.
similar to we have characters that have done terrible stuff in the past. The whole thing with the Black Widow is she had so much red on her ledger, and okay, we didn't see it, we don't know anything about it, but apparently we are led to believe she has done terrible things in the past, right? And she's redeemable. So I get that we've seen the terrible stuff, and we've just met this person, and so far all we know of them is they're a sociopath, and I get that. But we have if we're going to follow this MCU trajectory, we have to allow for terrible people to be introduced as extraordinarily flawed at the beginning and then allow them to grow.
So the difference I think between the Jean Grey in this movie or the original Black Widow or Loki is that we see them. They are not immediately forgiven. They are grappling with their past. They are feeling bad about things they've done. They are, atoning for past mistakes. Whereas this one's just like she was actually the good guy, and
Yeah.
it just kind of seems to sweep all of that stuff she did under the rug without really acknowledging. Because it's like, well, Mr. Milchek was bad to her,
Mm.
so she, and which is fair. He sucked in this movie. He's not a good person,
Yeah.
clearly. But just think it was, I don't know, it was kind of tonally messy, and uh, so it's not that it's bad. I like Sadie Sink as a lot as an actress. I think she's really great. I just felt like it could have been cleaner, and for a movie that was this long, it could have given
Yeah.
me more.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that. What was I going to say about that? She's killing people. Oh, it's just the idea of again, going back to recent discussion of Supergirl and how,
Mm.
she's killing a bunch of people. And the whole movie's like, you can't do that. And it's like, yeah, sometimes people just need to die because it's the Batman. It's the Batman problem of like you're not killing them and you're putting them in Arkham and they always get out and it's just like yeah at a certain point Joker just needs to die, like that just needs to happen. Let's talk about John Bertha a little bit. Amazing in this movie, I thought. Really good chemistry
Mm.
with Tom. All timer just
Yeah.
lays into the Hulk and he's screaming the entire time at the top of his
Yeah.
lungs, which was amazing. What did you think of Mr. Bernthal in this film?
I thought he was really good. I was not sure how much he was going to be in the movie. I was like, oh, is he just going to be in that initial chase scene? Um, but he was yeah really well utilized. I think he was a good kind of example of like if Peter keeps going down this route of not having anybody, not trusting anybody, like not letting anyone into his life, he could just become like this weirdo who lives in a boat. Like
Yeah.
the Punisher. I think that's when the Punisher is best utilized is when he is not the focus, but he's a foil for the hero, where he's this kind of like anti-hero. It's like, that's why he was so great in the Daredevil show. It's like he's so diametrically opposed. Like they have the same goals, but their ways of getting them are very different. And Spider-Man and Daredevil are on that same side of the coin. That is the opposite side from the Punisher. Bernthal is, of course, great. And we know another one of those quiet scenes that works so well is that last scene where they have that moment in the hospital and they're friends, but also there's quite an age gap. Like Peter would probably be about the same age as his kid if he had been able to grow up. So I think there is that kind of paternal or at least big brother kind of bond between them that I thought was really great. Obviously, they also had a great kind of similar-ish relationship like that in the Odyssey, and they worked
Yeah.
together a few times. The rounds are going around with them doing like Hot
Yeah.
Ones interviews or whatever right now.
Yeah.
So I really liked the two of them together. I liked the way that they ended up, and you mentioned the scene where he's fighting the Hulk, and I remember just watching that scene and being like, this is not an Avengers movie. This is not a crazy crossover movie. This is a Spider-Man movie. But I'm getting to still see Spider-Man and the Punisher fighting the Hulk, who is being mind controlled by Jean Grey right now.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is some fucking comic book shit if I ever saw it.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think, a lot of comparisons are still always going to go on about pre-COVID and pre-Endgame Marvel and pre-MCU. And I think the thing people forget about it, the pre-Endgame universe, was the crossovers. Not just the Avengers and Ultron, but Civil War was huge. You had
Yeah.
all these characters coming together. Even in Homecoming, obviously, for better or for worse, you had Iron Man in that. You had Tony Stark in that. And yeah, I think some of the best parts of these movies, Thor Ragnarok, you had the Hulk in there. That was another team up thing. I think we're one of the big things of this era of Marvel we're missing is the team ups. It's yes, it
Yeah.
is also the build up to the villain, but it's the team ups I think that really made those things special because, like you said, it's a comic book movies. They're comic book movies, and just because, like you said, just because it's a Spider-Man movie doesn't mean we can't have other people coming in and playing in the sandbox. Elaine is here, Hulk's here, Punisher's here. Pretty someday we'll have Ghost Rider in here with Ryan Gosling. Yeah, that is one of the big things I think have been missing from the movies, and I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, no, it was really cool to see all that crossover stuff. And
Yeah,
yeah, I like that you brought up, you know, Ghost Rider because it's funny because that was being announced at Comic Con while I was there. I had some friends who were in the room, some fellow panelists who were in the room as that was
nice.
being announced. But I didn't. I luckily caught the end game or the Doomsday
Yeah,
announcement a couple years back.
yeah,
This one was even more insane. Apparently, people who waited overnight with wristbands, some of them didn't even get in. There was all this craziness happening. So I decided not to deal with any of that, and I went and had a drink at the hotel Hilton bar, and then walked over and watched Perry Newmaroff do a live show of her podcast Ladies Night, which was a blast. So missed that,
nice.
heard about it all afterwards. But yeah, got to be in at least the vicinity while that was all being announced. So yeah, it's cool to see all this interconnectivity coming back through Marvel.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned penning, and if we can just go off on a tangent for a quick second,
Mm,
they did. They're doing the rounds, obviously Comic Con. They started doing the rounds for Doomsday from Comic Con, I should say, and they had like an Entertainment Weekly sit down with the entire cast, and it
mm,
wasn't terrible, but it was really just the guy kept trying to ask like plot questions and
mm,
just questions about the movie and just you got to understand at a certain point they're just not going to say anything, so you're not going to get a good answers or conversations. And I'm just using
mm.
that as a contrast to Penny Nemiroff, who is one of the best interviewers in all of media. I would say just asks the most intelligent, insightful, and yeah, really, really great interviewer.
Yeah, no, it was a really cool panel to get to see. I got to see her do another one about I don't even know what the movie was, but it was like basically a Barney horror movie. That looked fun. But yeah, getting to see her interview these people and getting to talk about the film industry. She was asking some really incredible questions that were, very emotional and I was definitely moved by a lot of the stuff that was going on in that panel. I'm glad I got to check that out as some alternate programming to the
Yeah.
fireworks show going on in Holland.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, so back to Brand New Day.
Mhm.
I really like the action in this. It's really well shot. Let me ask you something I've been meaning to ask you for a while.
Mm,
Since The Dark Knight, there's been moments in a lot of these action movies, especially Marvel movies, especially superhero movies, where I'm like, this feels like a game because, a
mm,
lot of there's a thing in video games called quick time events, which basically is a thing coming let's say a boulder's flying at you, and the game's like press A quickly to dodge, or
mm.
tap it really quickly to like disengage with somebody who's like choking you or whatever.
There's a lot
There's
of that shit in Resident Evil.
is there? Yeah, yeah. I've heard there's been a lot of that in more recent games, and four I think started that trend.
Yeah, they
Um,
did.
yeah, and so I'm trying to think of a specific moment in this, but I'll go back to the Dark Knight, which when I really started to notice it, where when Batman's in that, I think he's going to Joker and he's going up that like construction site or whatever, and there's guys all strewn around each floor, and Lucius Fox is telling him over in his ear, "Hey, I'm using sonar, and there's three guys here on level 2, and there's five guys over there on level
Mm.
6." So that really stuck with me as this pivot point of these movies are really treading along lines of like sounding like and looking like video games. I'm curious if you've ever seen that.
I mean, it's not something that I necessarily would have put it that way, but you definitely have a point. You're not wrong with it being like, yeah, like okay, like you're going here, like hit this. It does feel like video games have become more cinematic, which
Yeah.
I feel like it's become almost a two-way street where like a lot of these more cinematic video games, these. you would see it's like that tank sequence you were talking about in this movie where it's him and the Punisher and they're
Yes.
chasing down that thing. Feels like it could be right out of like the Spider-Man video game.
Yes.
Like it feels like it's like this thing is stopping you. You gotta, oh, you failed. You gotta start the level over. It did have that vibe quite a bit.
Yes, that is specifically the one I was thinking about. Of like you have to press the button very quickly before the tank gets there. Yeah, so that's all I want to say about that. Yes, the hand fight was quite incredible. He's throughout this movie. I forgot we haven't really mentioned what the crux of the movie is. He's dealing with this mutation in his blood. I think a lot of people were speculating that he would be man spider. He would develop, he would be
Yeah,
mutate into a
that's what I
much.
thought it was going toward. Like that, that was an arc I was familiar with specifically from the '90s TV show.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. And but what they do here is just like, oh, he's more aggressive.
Yeah.
They're treading
He's at
along.
organic webs, which is I
Yeah.
think it's funny because the reason that they introduced the organic webs into the movie or the comics was because they introduced them to the movies, and now the movies are reintroducing them because they were in the comics. So it's just Ouroboros.
Yeah, exactly. It really is. Completely lost my train of thought there.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It was my fault. To speak of action things, action scenes, and with the Hulk specifically, that whole scene was really well done. I didn't really feel it was a video gaming thing because it felt real. I think there was so many parts in this where I was like really worried for
Mhm.
Peter at a certain point, and for the Punisher.
Mhm.
And during that scene, I want to ask you too, in my notes here, where the fighty things happen. Really good scenes of action. He eventually, like, there's a bunch of debris gets broken off the side of the building, and it gets webbed up, and the part of the web gets stuck on Hulk. So Hulk is being pushed back or pulled back out of the hole that's in the building, and being tugged outside. And he's grabbing Peter. He's about to crush his head, and Peter does essentially the sun's getting real low, big guy speech we've seen before from Black Widow. But here the camera pushes into Peter's eye, and you could see through the mesh there. You could see into his eye. And again, I do this weird thing where I'm just like looking for the stuff. So for the rest of the
Mhm.
movie, I'm looking to see, can you see through his eye? And I actually caught it a few times. It's a very interesting way that those things will happen.
Yeah, no, I really liked the action throughout this movie. I particularly liked that scene where he's fighting the Hulk and he's kind of webbing him and pieces of the building keep like getting more and more on and it's weighing him down. And so Peter's like fighting as he's fighting him, the Hulk is getting more and more restrained like by all this stuff that's hanging he's hanging off the building. So, it did a good job. So many superhero movies they could be fighting anywhere. They could be fighting in a field or an airport or whatever. This was like, okay, we're utilizing the environment we're in very well.
Yes, yes, very good scene there. And then just going back to sort of the near the end of the movie where he's fighting the hand, really cool. I mean, again, it felt like a little video gamey where he's like,
Mm.
I did my special move, I pushed all the right buttons here, and he
Mhm.
gets overcome with the, I guess, spider hormones, and he just the organic weapon comes out. And it gets it's more powerful than his mechanical weapon because it's able to push through this like sound gun that these guys are shooting at him. He takes those guys down very quickly, shoots up into the sky, comes back down, webs all of the hand people, strings them up in the same motion, like, drop kicks the door and flies into the room where Sadie Sink is hiding and is about to kill uh, Travell Tillman. So we're getting to the end here. I thought a lot of that worked. I don't know. It very much made sense to me that I think in my notes here that we haven't talked about, Peter is in a lot of ways, going to be probably going forward, but it's a little bit here too, the mentor for Jean Grey. And I feel like a lot of the previous movies were about, especially the second one, where you have Mysterio pretending to be, this new mentor in the wake of that was after, that was after Iron Man died, right? Far From Home.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So Mysterio is very much taking the place of Tony there and being a found mentor, found family.
Mm.
Obviously turns on him. At the end, it's a sort of a pivot here, sort of an inversion of that dynamic here, where you have Peter, the more experienced one, sitting down with and trying to, calm down Jean Grey. And throughout the movie, we have seen this scene where Jean Grey has tried to get into Peter's head, and we're always cutting back to this moment in Peter's bedroom where May is sitting down talking to him about his new powers. She's like, these new powers, they're very exciting, they're very cool, but it can come with a lot of darkness. A lot of people are going to try to hurt you because you are special. And at the end, when Jean finally gets in and is able to settle into the scene, you see that she is sitting where Peter was, and she is being talked to by Aunt May and being, told this things, which I think worked really well in that I thought about her, not having anyone. And I feel like it's very much telling the audience, hey, if this, how could she have turned out? And why did she turn out the way she did? And how could it have been different if she had somebody in her life like May?
Yeah, no, it's. I think you're right on where he's gonna be some like I don't know if he's gonna be the mentor for her. He like sets her off on the right track. I almost was very surprised that there wasn't a post credit scene where she like shows up at like the Xavier Institute or whatever. I guess
Yeah,
they're holding off on that so they can
I
really let
guess.
the whoever directs X-Men make that.
Yeah,
But because it's like okay, well she's gonna clearly have like a mentor in Professor X, or and probably Storm or whoever else is there, as they have like this new version of the mutants. But it felt like that was another thing that bugged me a little bit too, is that they felt like they were like afraid to be like, okay, well the mutants are here. They're like Jean Grey's here. We won't. Where are her powers from? Where are her powers? We don't really know. We're not going to say the mutants are here in the MCU. We'll hint at stuff.
yeah,
We'll give you a little bit of the X-Men theme in um, you know, um, not Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel.
yeah,
But like it's just like it's like the mutants are here. They're adjacent. Maybe there's one
yeah.
in another universe, but they're like, and here's like the first real mutant X-Men character that we're getting, and it's like we won't even say the word mutant in the movie.
Yep.
So it's like, why do we even have Jean Grey here if she's not allowed to say that she's a mutant? So we'll see what happens with that. They're clearly being like, there clearly was like a mandate from like someone at Marvel, Kevin Feige or somebody was like, you need to put Jean Grey in this movie so we can backdoor an X-Men movie in
Yeah.
some way. Which is fine. Marvel does that stuff a lot. I just would have liked it to be have a little bit more of a spine when it came to that stuff.
Yeah, I totally. Yeah, I get it. It's frustrating. It's frustrating for me. I think we're coming at the same problem, just in a from different angles. I get that this stuff needs to be, the X-Men stuff especially needs to be shown, needs to be given, lay some track down, show us what you're working towards, because again, that is the whole thing of like this overarching stories that we go to these movies for. And I think you're totally right that they needed a way better post-credit scene. Like, I guess we're at the end, full spoilers for this thing. Post-credit scene is Ned's Where is Spider, the Spider app, the Spider tracking app, somehow detects another Spider-Man in space. The whole thing is obviously leading to, after Doomsday, Secret Wars. Secret Wars takes place in space, on Battle World. Doctor Doom takes all the heroes from Earth and puts them on Battle World and makes them fight. And that's where Spider-Man in the comics first encounters the symbiote. So that's obviously
Yeah.
where all this stuff is headed. And exactly, you're right. We know where the stuff is headed, and we knew we knew Sadie Sink was playing Jean Grey, and they're just holding their cards way too close to their chest. I really hope that they're not doing it because they don't have the casting in place, and they don't have a
Mm.
director in place, and we don't have like some sort of script at some point for the first X-Men movie. We will see, but yeah, I think you're totally right that setting. The thing is, I think the reason it worked for me, Derek, and
Mm.
is that I'm kind of putting that stuff aside for myself. I kind of have
Yeah.
to,
I mean, I'm glad it worked for you. Like,
yeah,
I didn't dislike the movie.
yeah. I just try to be like, okay, coming at it from kind of more of a trivial standpoint of, she's weaker, she's more dangerous, she's more violent. Like I said before, I'm trying to remind myself that, okay, this is our first time seeing this version of Jean Grey in our world, in a more in a little bit more grounded way. So again, just like with the Hulk, with Smart Hulk, with breaking his arm in Endgame to power scale him and try to
Hmm.
debuff him. They have to do that here because she is so powerful. I think one thing I thought of when they were talking about this on Midnight Boys was you can't introduce her as her peak power. You have to show she has potential to get there.
Right.
You can't start at
Exactly. I agree
10.
with that.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
start at 10 and then because you have nowhere else to go. So obviously
Yeah.
you
And
have
obviously
to,
when she get introduced
yeah.
in the comics, she's not that powerful. She would get powerful. She would get the Phoenix like years later, but
Oh
she's
yeah.
just a kid when she gets introduced, essentially, which is what she was in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. I really like Sadie Sink. Let me ask you the one question I have in my notes here. I see this a
Okay.
lot in movies. This is an MCU thing. This isn't a Sadie Sink thing. This is like a actor thing. I feel like people don't scream as hard as they can. It's a weird. I know it's a weird picadillo, but like, do you when she's like screaming like "You killed my sister"? I feel like she could have put a little more. I feel like she had another gear to go in there.
I mean, I did not. I don't remember clocking that scream at all. So I
Yeah.
mean, maybe I'd have to rewatch it to tell you. To be honest.
Yeah, I've always been I've done karaoke in the past. I've really let go, and I feel like a lot of people that do that stuff just hold back quite
Yeah.
a bit. So like I was clocking that a little bit. But yeah, really
Mm.
really good movie. People's have wildly differing rankings. You mentioned earlier on. This is very very far down in your rankings of Spider-Man movies. Right now it's probably somewhere in the middle. I would say of all the Tom Holland movies of the, you know, Jesus, the Garfield movies are like you said. I think everybody and their mother agrees that
Yeah, those are bad
the
movies. They're
Amazing
bad.
Spider-Man movies are pretty bad. So those are down
Yes.
there. But for my money, let me start with the Holland movies. I really liked this one quite a bit. I think Homecoming, just from the reveal of Michael Keaton's character and all of that, the first time we're seeing all of that stuff, I think is pretty high up there. So that might be my
Mhm.
number one Holland movie, and this might be number two.
Oh
Um,
well.
yeah, I really like this movie. And then, I really need to go back and watch the Tobey Maguire movies. People have
Hmm.
number two on their rankings, at least number one, if not number two. So I would
Hmm.
probably put that in a similar spot. But yeah, I haven't really thought about this stuff
Yeah.
too much. You said it's really, you mentioned at the beginning, it's really down there. Is it still there down there for you?
Yeah, I would say like because generally speaking, I like Spider-Man movies. So, the fact that this is at the bottom of the list just speaks to how strong a lot of those other entries are. But yeah, I think that other than the Garfield ones, this is probably the third to the bottom. I would say that all the Maguires, including Spider-Man 3, which I am on the record as defending. We did a
Yep,
whole podcast
we
about it.
did.
Um, I think Spider-Man 3 is great. 1 and 2, and then all the trilogy in this, and of course the Spider-Verse movies I would put above this too. Not that saying this is a bad movie. It does some cool stuff. Some stuff I'd even talk about. Like I'm glad that they finally brought Michael Mando back as the Scorpion because he's kind of like set up in that first home movie to be like the villain for the next one, and they kind of like he never get. That's the classic superhero thing. Was like we've got the bad guy here, and he's gonna be the bad guy in the next one, and then they don't do anything with him. He finally
Yeah.
gets to be the Scorpion, which I thought was cool. There's speaking of Spider Verse, they have the guy who plays Tombstone does the
Oh
voice
yeah.
for Tombstone in that movie, who is actually a like Tombstone a black albino man. So
Oh.
he gets to show up as like in a cameo, which I thought was a nice little connective tissue between this movie and the Homecoming movies. Obviously, it's a different universe, but Lonnie. Or Marvin Jones the third is the guy who plays him. So yeah, there was definitely some good stuff in this, but doesn't really rise to the level of some of the other Spider-Man stuff, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Gotcha. All right, so that's a review of Spider-Man No Way Home. Let us know if you agree or disagree with our takes. MidnightFilmPod@gmail.com. With that, let's move on to our Letterboxd assignments. For the first time in a while, I forgot to watch my movie. Like I was saying, I was tech issues all day long. Unfortunately, I was dealing with that, so I didn't have a chance to check out Tape. Derek, did you check out Stoker from Mr. Park Chan-wook?
So for the first time in a while, I did watch my movie.
Nice.
Like I said, I did not really have time to watch a lot of stuff, but I was like, hey, you know what, Stoker? I hardly know her. I can watch this movie. It's not that long. It's something I really want to watch, and I need to watch something, so I might as well knock this one out. Um, you know, this was a movie that very much interested me. Once again, it's a English language debut for a director. This time, as you mentioned, Park Chan-wook, who we also brought up. It stars really underrated actress Mia Wasikowska, as well as Nicole Kidman and Matthew Good. And I was not really a fan of this one. I was excited. I was like, "Ooh, Southern Gothic horror! Like, what's it gonna be?" And it just felt like needlessly convoluted psychodrama, where it's like, what's this creepy guy who's clearly evil? He's actually evil? What? Like there's a lot of that. It's a lot of style over substance in my opinion. I like Park Chan-wook. Unfortunately, this one did not work for me, and I think it's the movie still looks like immaculate, incredible, really well shot, like all of his movies are. But I think the script unfortunately, from Wentworth Miller was the weak point for me. So he's the guy who wrote Prison Break,
Yeah.
he was the guy who stars in Prison Break, excuse me,
Oh,
wrote this movie. So yeah, I didn't love it, unfortunately.
gotcha. Yeah. One of these sections in the Wikipedia talks about how this movie shows a lot of Park Chan-wook's Hitchcock influence, which I've noticed a lot in No Other Choice, not No Other Choice, the previous one, Decision to Leave. I feel like I
Yes,
saw a
there's
lot
a
of.
there's a one really big parallel. Like, I can't say without a spoiler, but there's a really big parallel between this and Decision to Leave that I was like, weird that he did that twice, but it's very Hitchcockian.
Gotcha, gotcha. All right, so that was your little extra assignments for last time. Let me
Mhm.
go to a list here, and I will shuffle because I really want to get through some of these directors that I've always wanted to watch. So I'll hit shuffle on my director to watch list. Shuffle it up, and we get to the Duelists. The Duelists.
Oh, Ridley
Ridley
Scott, Harvey
Scott.
Keitel, hell
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Heard one of the. This is his not debut, right? This is after.
It might
Let me
be.
see.
It's very early for
Very
him.
early, yeah. Let me see. Newest release date. It is the first movie, yeah, right before, 2 years
Yeah.
before Alien. All right, so first up from Mr. Ridley Scott. I'll be checking that out for next time.
Nice.
All right, so hit
All right,
your go
I'll
to
hit
watch list, hit
shuffle on
shuffle, let me know
mine.
what you get.
I got the Joan Jett biopic starring Kristen Stewart, The Runaways. All right, very
Mhm.
interested in this one.
Nice,
With
nice,
Kristen Stewart and Dakota Fanning as Cherry Curry.
nice. Yeah, I've heard a lot about this. Run
Yeah.
ways. All right. Duelist. The Duelist. Then he came back years later with the Duel. Different
Yes,
Duel.
The Last Duel.
The last Duel. All right, so for that's our stuff. That's our stuff to watch for next time, and for next time. So these movies I'm going to mention, they may or may not be coming out because I couldn't find a consistent release date or release
Okay.
limited versus wide release for some of these. But I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
next week on August 7th we have One Night Only, directed by Will Gluck, starring Monica Barbaro and Calum Turner. I've seen this
Blue
trailer.
is his husband. Yeah.
I've seen this trailer like a million times. Have you as well?
Yeah, it's like, hey, what if The Purge, but it's a romantic comedy and the Purge law is for banging?
Yes, yes. So very strange movie. Again, we talking about this
Yeah.
in a similar way.
That's a high concept movie if I ever heard of one.
I was gonna say. Same week we have Eli Ross' newest film, The Ice Cream Man. So that's you can check that out.
That's also a thing that exists. Yes.
That's also a thing that exists. Apparently, we needed a third Super Troopers movie, directed by
Right.
Jay Shel.
I don't even remember there being a second one, but okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, stars all the same people, directed by the same person. Yeah, they're all coming back again.
It's still got those same jokes from 2007, it seems
Yep,
like.
yep, yep, yep. I do like the one where he's like, "Yo, Farva, what's the name of the place you always go to with all the weird shit on the walls? Shenanigans! Oh, oh!" Because he said, Brian Cox is like, pistol whip the next person who says shenanigans."
Yeah,
Anyway,
very great.
yes.
Gets the yeah. This movie is 2001 actually when the first one came out, and
Holy
it seems
shit.
like the same jokes from that movie. And that was a movie that I remember everyone in middle school would not shut the fuck up about. And I was like, it was the same. I remember being like, I do not ever need to see this movie. I've just heard people say meow 8,000 times. I'm good.
Get a liter of cola. So this is the next one. I'm definitely not sure if it's going to be wide or limited release. It's called Tony. Stars Mr. Dominic Sessa as Anthony Bourdain. So another biopic, but not biopic. It's going to take place in one crazy summer in Provincetown, where Anthony Bourdain cut his teeth as a young chef on the coast.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you announced a bunch of shit that I have zero interest in seeing, and then you're like, oh, I am so down for this. Like, I pick about Anthony Bourdain, directed by Matt Johnson. So the second Matt Johnson movie that
Yeah.
we're getting this year. We are eating well. So very excited for this one.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to check this thing out.
Yeah, it looks very cool. So, according to Wikipedia, it's going to be limited on the 7th and then expanding nationwide 2 weeks later. Guys, can you just not? Can you put it out everywhere at the same time? Please, some equality in our movie releases, please. The following week, we have The End of Oak Street, directed by David Robert Mitchell, who did one of my favorite horror movies, It Follows, in 2014. Did Under the Silver Lake, which is a cult hit, and hasn't done much since. So we'll be seeing what he is up to.
Yeah, this is the trailer where it's like, hey, we're like in a suburban neighborhood, but also there's dinosaurs. And I'm like, say no more. I'll see whatever the fuck this is.
Yep, the year of Anne Hathaway rolls on. She was giving an interview where she was like, yeah, what did she do? I think she did pickups on this. She said she did. She rolled into into Odyssey. She rolled from that into Verity, the new Colin Hoover movie she's going to be in.
Right.
And then she rolled into something else, Devil Wears Prada 2. So she's filming like for 6 months straight. Yeah, going to be the year of Miss Anne Hathaway. And for the weirdos, for the stoners, we have a movie called The Wrong Girls, directed by Dylan Meyer, starring Kristen Stewart and Alia Shawcock. Premise is two codependent best friends living paycheck to paycheck and bong rip to bong rip get caught in a case of mistaken identity that throws their lives into chaos. So that'll be something.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm always down for case stew, so we'll see how it goes.
It's case stew, yeah. I like that nickname.
Yeah, I did not come up with it.
No, all right.
No.
So that's everything. We got Medium, Substack. Go to DamienSherman.medium.com. Go to Letterboxd, Midnight Film Pod on Letterboxd. Go to YouTube, Midnight Film on YouTube for the podcast as well. Like I said, I just got back from the trip and had the massive tech issues I was alluding to. We're just trying to get my pictures from my phone onto my desktop so I can more easily put together a montage, put together a what do they call that? A vlog essentially of my trip down there. So yeah, I believe you look forward to that sometime in the future. And also have a interview with Cameron Kultzman on the feed, a couple feeds back, and had some scheduling mishaps with the writer of The Kings of Hollywood, Last Kings of Hollywood. But if everything goes correctly, I should have the interview out next week. So maybe later this week to interfere with your podcast as well.
Very cool, very cool. Exciting stuff.
Very cool stuff.
Listening to that.
Derek, what you got to plug?
Yeah, my plug is the Underrated Movie Podcast, where I discuss films that are underrated, underappreciated, ones that have slipped under the radar and passed most people by. I am towards the end of my mini-series called Unreleased, where I am talking about unreleased films. And this week I talked about Togo. Or next week I talked about Togo, the Disney Plus movie that was scrubbed from Disney Plus. I talked about it with Alex Marcus, who was at Comic-Con with me. So we'd love people to go check that out. You can find that on underratedmoviepodcast.com or however you're listening to this. You can also find some of my writing, including the panel that I covered for Comic-Con on templeofgeek.com.
Very, very cool. All right. For Midnight Film Society, I've been Damien.
I've been Derek.
And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.